The Caterham 7 has essentially been in production since 1957, although at first it wore a Lotus badge. While it still looks much the same today as it did back then, not one component of the original car remains. Its unique selling point is unchanged too, providing a pure driving experience and eye-opening performance for relatively little money. Nowadays you can spec your 7 with anything from a 80 horsepower, 660cc Suzuki motor to a ballistic 310 horsepower tire smoker from Ford. Rivals like the Lotus Elise, Morgan three-wheeler or Westfield can't offer that diversity. Back to basics, driving any Caterham is a physical experience. There are no assistance systems, and the brakes and steering are very heavy. Power must be meted out carefully to keep it all pointed in the right direction, too. Once you're used to the control weights, the information flowing through every surface tells you all you need to know about what's going on underneath the wheels. Driving one fast requires a bit of a reboot in what you previously thought speed was. The combination of massive power, a lighter weight body and the wind rushing through your hair means you feel like you're going twice as quickly as you actually are. Spartan equipment levels don't expect luxury gadgets like a reversing camera or sat-nav. The Caterham 7 strips away anything that detracts from the pure experience of driving. As such, you get a clutter-free cabin that allows you to focus on the job at hand, and anyway, luxuries like carpets, doors and a windscreen can be optionally added at the time of purchase. Boot space is obviously at a premium, but thankfully a handy flap in the center section of the vinyl cover makes stowing a sandwich and thermos flask an easily accessible job. That's about the limit of the car's practicality. A car for everyone. The bottom of the range 160 is fine for road use, while the top tier 620R will shame supercars on a track day. And there's a wide choice of Caterhams between these two extremes, catering for every budget and performance need. The middle spec 310 car offers all things to all people, with decent road manners and outrageous circuit performance to boot. Which is the right one for you? Caterham 7 review to find out. Caterham likes to name its cars based on their power-to-weight ratios. As such, the range starts with the 160 and ends with the 620. These are powered by a selection of Suzuki and Ford engines with horsepower ranging between 80 horsepower and 310 horsepower. From the least to the most potent, none of the 7 models could be described as slow. Weight plays a big part in that. With less mass to move around, the fairly inconspicuous engine outputs available translate into serious speed. 3-cylinder entry car. Think of the Caterham lineup as a sliding scale from road to track use, with the entry-level 160 being the easiest to drive on the highway. It uses a 660cc, 3-cylinder turbocharged Suzuki engine that is good for 80 horsepower. That figure may not excite, but thanks to the car's low weight, it shifts along at an admirable pace, accompanied by a raughty note from the side exhaust pipe. Our only complaint is that the turbocharged engine doesn't have the zingy throttle response we expect from a car like this, but 0 to 62 miles per hour in 6.9 seconds is nothing to be sniffed at. Next up are the 1.6-liter Ford-powered 270 and 310 models, regarded as the purest and most accessible cars Caterham produces. The former comes with 135 horsepower, but the 310 packs in an extra 20 horsepower, and 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint times are 5 seconds for the 270, while the 310 gets there a tenth quicker. Caterham 7 310 boasts a superb balance of talents. The 310 is a reasonably new addition to the lineup and features a modified version of the 1.6-liter Ford engine, with hotter cams and a different engine map. Not only does this add power, but it also revs a higher redline. It also feels distinctly more like a motorsport unit than the 270, with the lumpy takeover and keenness to both pick up and drop revs. The gearboxes ratios are so closely stacked though that barely any engine speed is lost between each changes, making the 310 feel relentlessly accelerative. Where the 360 used to be the best balance for road and track use, we think the 310 is the highlight of the Caterham 7 range. It's fast enough on the road to entertain without feeling like you're missing out. Middle-powered cars use a 2.0-liter motor. A pair of 2.0-liter Ford Duratec cars offer another step up in performance, badged 360 and 420. They promise hot hatch power of 180 horsepower and 210 horsepower, but supercars 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint times of 4.8 and 3.8 seconds respectively. The 360 takes the 7 up a notch if you plan to use your car regularly on track as well as the road. It's powerful enough to keep up with most comers on a circuit, but not so ballistic that you can't enjoy it on the road too. From the 420 up, you'll want to make friends with your local racetrack owner to get the most from your Caterham. Range-topping track-focused models. Next up is the CSR, which Caterham describes as the ultimate road-going 7. Its 2.3-litre naturally aspirated Ford engine develops 260 horsepower, so 0 to 62 miles per hour falls in 3.1 seconds. This car features aerodynamic tweaks and special suspension that we'll go into in the handling section. Range-topping 620 models are split into S, road spec, and R, track spec, although both develop a mighty 310 horsepower from a supercharged 2.0-litre Ford motor, and are more naturally suited to race circuits. As you'd expect, this power translates to some pretty eye-opening performance stats, with the 0 to 62 miles per hour time dropping from 3.4 seconds to 2.8 seconds in the race-era car. Gearboxes. All the regular Caterham 7 sports cars come with a standard 5-speed manual gearbox, or an optional 6-speeder. The 620R gets a special 6-speed sequential gearbox, shifts one gear at a time in response to a forward or backward tug on the lever. The 620S and CSR only have a manual 5 and 6-speed gearbox respectively. Whichever manual you pick, it'll come with an almost unbelievably stubby shifter that requires Baker's forearms to snick between ratios. It's another physical but rewarding effort that modern car refinement has all but eliminated. Nailing a gear change in a Caterham is easy and extremely satisfying, once you've remembered how to drive properly. The Caterham 7 provides a very physical driving experience, even on the smallest and least powerful 160. Unassisted steering and heavy brakes require more effort to move, but the rewards are obvious from the outset, with wonderful feedback from both giving you a clear picture of how much grip the tires have. A short, stubby gear stick snaps between its ratios with a satisfying action, but needs hefty inputs due to its lack of leverage. Breadth of performance options on all but the 160. You can specify sportier suspension and a limited slip differential to tighten up the handling, but thanks to its lighter weight design, even standard cars are a joy to drive. Because the front wheels are suspended outside the main bodywork, you can accurately place the front of the car where you want it to go, watching as the inside wheel gracefully brushes the apex of a bend. The only stability or traction control available is your right foot. There's no electronic safety net waiting to catch you when things get out of shape. Luckily, the chassis is very communicative and allows you to approach its limits without suddenly biting your head off. That said, faster cars approach the boundary of grip much quicker, and demand more progressive, measured inputs. The Caterham is no nonsense car that's focused on just one thing: driver enjoyment. So it's little surprise to find a Spartan cabin with just the essential dials and switches on the dashboard. It's very cramped too, although an SV wide-body chassis is available on some versions, which gives additional interior and luggage space. The small steering wheel and tight gearbox all reinforce the point that this is nothing short of a race-bred car that is also road legal. However, Caterhams can project an air of quality thanks to the standards of finish and materials such as leather and carbon fiber in their construction. The seats are supportive and surprisingly comfortable, as long as you fit, but on some models padding is entirely absent, which isn't ideal for longer journeys. Bizarrely, the front passenger actually has even less legroom than driver, and overall the cockpit is very cramped unless you order the slightly more spacious SV. There's little protection from the elements, and in the winter the heater will be working overtime to keep the cockpit moderately warm. Equipment varies with which model you buy, plus there's the option on most cars of adding the S, road, or R, race, packs. It's pretty sparse though. Most cars do without doors, carpeting and even a full windscreen. Standard Caterham 7 equipment. The 160 kicks off the standard specification with aluminum bodywork with composite panels, 14-inch steel wheels, front disc and rear drum brakes, adjustable cloth seats, inertial seatbelts, a composite aero screen and immobilizer. Moving up to 270, 310, 360 and 420 cars adds 14-inch alloy wheels, more sophisticated suspension plus front and rear disc brakes. You also get a motor steering wheel, rubber floor mats and boot floor carpet. The CSR adds a few luxuries like a full windscreen, heater, different alloys wheels, a 4-point race harness, carpets and side doors with armrests. Finally, the two top 620 cars come with a whole host of kit. Both add a dry sump for better oil provision in hard cornering, limited slip differential, 4-point trace harness, carbon fiber dashboard, Momo steering wheel and high-performance brakes. The 620S gets a special lightweight flywheel, rear exit exhaust, full windscreen, hood and side screens, 15-inch alloys, black leather seats, a 12-volt socket and heater. Track-focused 620R cars get racier suspension dampers, plus carbon fiber aero screen, seats, interior panels, front and rear wings and 13-inch alloys. Optional Caterham 7 accessories. Additional kit can be bought individually or in packs, called S for road use and R for track. The 160 can only be specified with the S pack, and neither can be added to the 620 cars. These benefit from a long list of track-ready items like rollover bars, a fire extinguisher and battery master cutoff switch. The S-Pack adds luxuries for road use, such as interior carpets, a full windscreen, hood and side screens, heater, black leather seats, Momo steering wheel, 12-volt socket and a choice of paint finishes. If you want more of a racy experience, the R-Pack gets you a limited slip differential for improved traction, lightweight flywheel, an anti-roll bar, sports suspension, 15-inch alloys, uprated brake master cylinder, carbon fiber dashboard, composite race seats, a Momo steering wheel, 4-point race harnesses, plus the 12V socket and paint finishes from the S-Pack. Race harnesses will stop you going anywhere in an accident, and the chassis is reinforced with aluminium honeycomb, but this is low volume, back to basics motoring, so there are no airbags, traction control or even ABS. On the plus side, security is good with an immobilizer generally fitted as standard and a steering wheel that is often removable. The Caterham is certainly not an everyday car, so practicality isn't a huge factor for most owners, who have one as a second car they can use at the weekend. The flimsy fabric roof is simple to unclip but can be difficult to reattach, especially if there's a sudden downpour, while the plastic doors rarely fit well. Unsurprisingly, there's no stowage up front, but there is a very small boot. The long bonnet, wide turning circle and sensitive throttle mean it's also a struggle to drive in slow traffic.